Greetings everyone and happy Fresh Friday. This is Akuna and we are back at Juamoto Sunfire Cuisine with Dr. Tao to talk about another wonderful thing on the menu. Today we are talking about one of my favorites. Hold on. You ready? You ready? Sweet potato pie. Now this is not just your normal sweet potato pie that is loaded with butter and refined sugars and all these things that are unhealthy for you. Tell us, Dr. Tao, how did you get this wonderful flavor of sweet potato pie, but even better than the traditional sweet potato pie, into this wonderful dessert here?
Well, we wanted to make it raw and still keep it healthy, and also not go into the whole sugar avenue. So basically, when you make a meal, you just want to touch certain aspects of flavor, but for dessert, you really just want to hit sweets, but natural sweets, so you don't have that sugary taste on your teeth. And then, so the crust is made out of pecans and it's kind of blended together with dates. And then the top part, which is the actual sweet potato, you do want to, get the skin off of it, and then you want to cut it up really nice, and then that's when you add your sweeteners in, but not artificial, more so fruits, dates, and things of that sort. And it does have like a little lemon zest to it as well, though. So a lot going on. People are surprised to say it's actually raw. Yes, it is raw sweet potato pie. So
yeah, I remember the first time that I was told about this. He said he had sweet potato pie, and I'm like, but it's raw? How? But then when I tasted it, I had no more questions. I was like, let me get another slice, please. So was this the first dessert that you made here at Juamoto?
So this is probably the fourth or fifth one. The first one was actually the coconut mango pie, which we made. Do a video on that one too. So that was the coconut crust on that one. Real coconut, not some bag. It's actual coconut I cracked. So, but yeah, so it's very healthy. But that was the first one. This one's probably like the fourth or fifth one that I made down the line. It was interesting because I was like, okay, this is raw, but you need certain equipment to kind of get that, process like you want the smoothness. So you do want to invest in certain equipment. The Vitamix is very, very helpful for that. Just making sure you have the right things when it comes to raw cuisine, because your high-speed blender, your food processor, your dehydrator, those are your staples when it comes to making it and taking it to a different level. Something that you can kind of be familiar with when it comes to actual dining experience. We can always throw something quick together at home, but when you're actually trying to serve the public, you want to give them something that's unfamiliar but familiar at the same time.
Right.
So that's kind of the idea there.
Right, and that's something I would definitely say that this sweet potato pie covers, because it has, I would say, even more flavor than your traditional sweet potato pie. There's more dimensions, and it doesn't leave you with that, the itis, feeling tired and things of that nature, because it's just so fresh and just made from all natural raw ingredients. So I know that a lot of people are addicted to sugar. Some of them know it, some of them don't. I used to have a sugar addiction. Tell us a little bit more about the dangers of refined sugars and different alternatives that people can use.
Gotcha. So the thing about white sugar or a lot of the artificial sugars is the body has to be able to recognize it from some type of ancestral lineage. Okay, so you have this plant kingdom and you have this animal kingdom, human kingdom, and they have to have some type of ancient relationship with each other. So when you put these foreign substances into the body has to catalog it, has to do something with it. So if it doesn't recognize it, what it'll do is it'll try to put back into it what it believes it should be put back into it to make it back natural. So what happens is it'll take white sugar and try to make it back into sugar cane grass. So, but once you eat it, you become the host of that process. So when you process food, it processes you back by taking the vitamins and minerals from your kidneys, your eyes, your hair, your skin, your liver, anywhere it can, to put it back into that food before it can be properly digested. You see, and we call that over a long term, we call that a disease. So the white sugar is trying to mimic something in nature, but the body, it can't lie. It knows it's artificial versus what's true, so it has to go through an artificial process. And you call it disease. So diseases are technically artificially constructed. So that's the danger of white sugar. So they can, if you're dealing with diabetes type 2 or any type of sugar addiction, you can switch to monk fruit sugar, which is going to go to the liver to be processed primarily instead of the pancreas. Some people go into stevia. Some people don't like stevia because of the aftertaste behind it, but or just go into natural fruits like dates and things like that will help keep you at more of a proper glycemic index, so you don't have those sugar ups and downs and you crash at the end of the day and you just have no energy. You don't want that to happen. So, so white sugar is not good for you.
Right. I really like when you said when you process food, it processes you back. Because a lot of times we eat things and we don't really think about what happens after we swallow. But there's a whole digestive process, and like you said, the different organs are working in different ways to try and process that. So when we eat the foods, they process us as well. So that was wonderful. What about agave as a sweetener? What do you think of that?
Agave is a safer option. I do recommend it in small amounts. Some people use maple syrup. Those things are okay in small amounts. Agave is probably safer than maple syrup because it's not going to spike your glucose levels so high. So it's more natural. Maple syrup is going to be a little tougher because you technically need about 4 pancreases to digest that, and that stuff is really just a very concentrated, sugar. They had to heat it up and everything and get like a very, very concentrated amount to make it. But agave is a lot safer though. You can use it in small amounts. I don't want to say use it every single day, but sparingly is something you can use. That's a lot better than the white sugar. It's better than brown sugar too. Brown sugar is just dyed. White sugar is still processed.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that. Wow, learn something new every day. Okay. What are some other desserts that you have on the menu that we will definitely talk about in the future?
All right, so we have banana pudding, which I made last week. We have strawberry mango pie. I have a chocolate pound cake that I make as well. Brownies. Periodically done key lime pie before. I've done actual, like what you recognize as the strawberry cheesecake before. And sometimes I come in and get creative. I may try something different. I've done a pumpkin squash pie before. So just a lot of different varieties. A lot of it's just inspiration. And just many times I'll tell people when they get into this lifestyle, don't necessarily get into buying like a whole bunch of vegan cookbooks. You can do, you can just buy a regular cookbook that people eat, the standard American diet. But what you do, you're going to take whatever they're using and modify and change it out for something healthier, because that's the flavor that people are familiar with. So if you want to mix, the main thing is just getting the texture down. Once you get that down, you can just swap out what's healthier for each ingredient down the list, and you'll find that you'll make your own recipe. So the main thing when you're making food is you want to touch the 5 taste buds. So whenever you're making an entree, you want to touch sweet, salty, spicy, bitter, and sour. All right, you touch those 5 in the dish, because like your sours and things will come from the tomatoes and the sweets from the dates. So you start doing that, you're going to start making your own sauces, you make your own entrees. Make sure you touch those 5 taste buds, which makes you feel satiated. That way you have a complete meal. A lot of times people step into this lifestyle and they find that they're still hungry and they're not completely satisfied after they've made a meal. And that pulls you back into the standard American diet. So to stop that from happening, you can Google it. You can Google sweet foods, you can Google spicy foods, sour foods, bitter foods, and you're going to pull one from each category. That way you can be creative, put those together, and you'll start to make your own entrees. That way you can be your own creative master in the kitchen instead of relying on someone else.
Yeah, that sounds good. I always encourage experimentation in the kitchen. That's how you figure out what you like as well. So last thing, let's talk a little bit more about the benefits of sweet potatoes.
Okay. So the sweet potato is really good for immunity. So I try not to say immune system because the whole body is really an immune system per se. So it helps with the lymphatic drainage of the body. It also helps with just the white blood cell count. Now, remember that we do have a different white blood cell count based off ethnicity. So Europeans have a higher white blood cell count than we do. be aware that when you go get your checkups, they may say you have HIV or AIDS, but that's always not the case. So, but yeah, it's very good for that. It's also good for digestion, any type of nausea as well, soothe the stomach, and it's just a very vibrant food. Very good for the what we call the sacral chakra, which helps with your sacred energy, helps keep you grounded as well. So, and it's a good sustaining food. It helps with energy levels. So you don't want to eat a whole bunch of sweet potatoes if you're not active, because it will turn to fat. But if you, it's a very high energy fuel. So if you're out, you need that energy. You know you're not going to be around food for a while. Sweet potatoes will get you there. It'll help you sustain that. It's good for athletes, anybody who's working out all the time, and it's just a very good, super strong, sustainable food.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Definitely. So.
And thank you all for joining, whether you're watching live or you are watching the replay. This is another episode of Fresh Fridays here at Juamoto. Go back, we have talked about all three of the smoothies here, the Royal Moss, the Peach Cobbler, and the Morning Dew. And today we talked about this sweet treat here, the sweet potato pie, all natural, all raw, only at Juamoto. And keep in mind, you don't have to eat this and then have that guilt or that pain in your stomach or that icky feeling. It's fresh, it's raw, and it's good for you. So you all have a wonderful rest of your Friday, and we will see you next week for another Fresh Friday. Bye.